Hello, everyone. Welcome. Amazing numbers already. Good afternoon. I love that we've already started writing in the chat, but right on cue, everyone, I'd love to know where you're from, what your name is, and what you do. I'll get started. Some of you may be familiar with me if you've attended HR Playbook 1.0, but I am Shambhavi and I am from Springworks and I work on events and content at Springworks. I'm also part of the Shape of Work community. If you all watched the welcome video that we had, you would already have some idea of the Shape of Work community. If you're a part of the Shape of Work community, please give me a hi in the chat as well. Hi, Pooja from Pune. We have Mia from Noida. We have Thanks for saying hi, Vijay and Gaurav. We have Bangalore, Assam, amazing. People from all over Gujarat, Hyderabad, amazing. Please keep the chat going. I love this energy already. Um, our panelists are ready. As some of you may be aware, our first session is extremely exciting. You may already have got a sense of the shape of our community from the welcome video, but very quickly, we are 21,000 strong right now. We have in-person meetups as well. We recently did some on-field research. We published an ebook from the event. Hi again, everyone. Chennai, Mumbai, Gujarat. Beautiful. So before we get started and I introduce the panelists to you, there's just one thing that I want you all to know. Now that I have you, I have your attention. I have an increasing number of people here. But I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about and to launch our HR 40 Under 40 Awards. This is a prestigious initiative which is going to be recognizing exceptional HR leaders under 40. Um, Leaders who are making waves, who are taking some experimental and brave steps to truly make a difference and to inspire people around them. As you know, the first panel is also around experiments in the HR world. So clearly, this is something that we value. If you're interested in nominating someone else or registering for this yourself, I'm dropping the link in the chat box. I am also going to be pinning this to the top. So no worries if you cannot fill this on right now, but you can keep this open, you can save it. And I'm excited to see all entrances from you for the HR 40 Under 40 Awards. This is going to be super exciting. And now I am just going to invite the panelists on stage. Let me introduce you to them. We have Babu Vittal, who is the People and HR Practice Leader from RTP Global. Babu has led at unicorns like Flipkart, Vedantu. He has helped scale startups from 10 to 700 plus employees. At RTP Global, he advises portfolio companies on people strategy, talent, and leadership. And he's also co-founder of Yogin Education Foundation. Babu actually came to me as a strong recommendation from within our community, and I'm so excited that he said yes and that we have him with us today. Next up, we have Parul Singh. Parul is a global head of HR, an executive coach, an OD consultant as well, who has 20 plus years of experience where she has led HR through global expansions, through mergers and transformations as well. As an executive coach and an org design expert, Parul has built high impact teams and future ready leaders across industries. Welcome, Parul. Again, I was extremely glad when you agreed to do this with us, and I've been excited to have you since that moment. Before I introduce the moderator, we also have Richa Shailesh. I think Richa has joined us. Yes, perfect. Richa was actually part of HR Playbook 1.2 as well, but for some reason at the last moment she couldn't be here, and we absolutely couldn't wait to have her again. Richa is a leadership and talent strategist who is also co-founder at HR. She helps CEOs align business, customers, and culture with over 2 decades of experience in leadership development and people transformation. And she's also a powerful voice on LinkedIn. I'm sure a lot of you follow her. And she basically champions putting the human back in human resources. Very glad to have you, Richa. And I'm quickly going to introduce Surya and then over to you, Surya, who's the moderator. Surya Srinivas, everyone, is an engineering and HR tech leader with 17 years of experience from greytHR. Surya has built and scaled HR tech products across MNCs and high growth startups. He's led automation first strategies and also built end to end hire to retire platforms. All of them have one goal, which is simplifying HR through modern tech. So as you can see, between the five of these esteemed panelists, we have a very perfect combination for this particular topic, which is the HR lab and experiments that have happened in the HR field and what's worked and what hasn't worked. So over to you, Surya. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shambhavi. Hello to all the audience. Very good afternoon. Good afternoon to the panelists, Babu, Parul, and Richa. So
Afternoon.
the topic today is very interesting, right? The title itself says "People, Tech, and Culture: What worked, what failed, and what's next." Many of us actually understand reasonably well about people and tech as definitions, but there is a lot of tacit understanding when it comes to the word culture. So, a quick warm-up question to all three of you. In your experience, right, define culture for the audience. Maybe we can get started with Babu.
The challenge of being alphabetically named, right? Just starting with Babu. Okay, thanks. Hi everyone. Good evening. Culture is what I spent the fair amount of time over the last decade or so in the startup ecosystem. So I would say culture is what the founder brings to the organization. The founder or the founders bring to the organization. They decide, they shape, and together it gets shaped by the kind of people who join the organization. Over a period of time, it tends to change. What I realized the last 10, 12 years is that something which you cannot define very clearly and something which keeps evolving over a period of time is how I'll put it. There are no experiments as far as culture is concerned. So I'll just keep it as a moving target towards which everybody is working on.
Thank you, Babu. Over to you, Parul.
I think great question, Sai. I think to set the stage, a little controversial also, I would say, because it continues to stay diluted. It continues to come in front sometimes, but still we do not address it in the many ways that we can. So something that has worked me and that has helped me explain business, when we talk about culture transformation, when we talk about HR transformation, we want to explain first what does it even mean, right? So thank you for putting the question out. Two things that has really helped me explain it to business well. I think we as an HR fraternity and everybody who is attending this session as well, we have our own language of explaining this. But when it comes to business, you need to break it down in a way so that they understand it well and they are able to accept or become more welcoming when you talk about, cultural transformation. So two things. One is the word culture is driven from the Latin word cult or cultua to be a little more specific, which means care. So anything that is around care is going to be, part of the organization's culture if you can do that. Two, something which is my favorite, I would say, and something which has given me many aha moments when I was explaining it to business is culture is everything that you choose to celebrate and choose to tolerate in the organization.
Yeah.
If you are celebrating innovation, that becomes part of your culture. If you are celebrating teamwork, that becomes part of your culture. And if you are tolerating poor behavior, poor performance, lack of integrity, or anything which is not getting addressed, all of this gradually becomes part of your DNA. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Parul. Richa, moving to you, if you can elaborate when people say, okay, we have a poor culture or we have a very good culture, what exactly do they mean?
Actually, I can't give you a very textbook definition because uh, the reason that I founded my company was that to move away from textbook and the era of punch cards. And for me and for any client, I would want to set a mission and vision statement for. I would say culture is what people do when no one is watching. Culture is what people whisper about when HR is not in the room or is in the room because they trust themselves to be honest. For me, it is that, vibe between the lines of every email, the reason behind every eye roll, and the real dress code which nobody talks about. So I often say culture dil se aata hai, nahi to nahi aata hai. So for me, that is
Wonderful.
culture.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richa. So let's move on to the people segment of today's talk. Babu, again, back to you. You have scaled companies from a bunch of employees, like let's say 10 employees to a few hundred, around 700 plus employees. Can you talk about a couple of challenges that HRs face while scaling companies?
Means one is just go back to the first question what we have, right? If I have to put all of that together, one is the head of the organization brings culture to the table. Second is one you celebrate and one you tolerate. The third one is that what everybody speaks in the room in the presence or absence of the exec in the room, right? That brings in a lot of challenges when you walk in to look at scaling up an organization, because it's not clearly defined. Everyone would try and pull you in different direction. Expectations are very challenging. If you have to put all of that together and start scaling up an organization, the first challenge is going to be uh, time. So you should be able to come out and say that it's going to take at least 4 to 6 months time frame before we figure out the formula for scaling. That is something as a mistake I've done in a couple of organizations. The moment you get a target, you're very happy, you're busy. It's going to keep you busy for the next 6, 7 months. You agree on all the numbers, what you will be able to deliver. Eventually, you will not be able to deliver because of all that which happens behind the scenes. So, to set the expectations right, the first challenge I would say is to let people know that it's not going to happen in a month or two. It's going to take at least XYZ months. Add a delta of another 2 to 3 months time there. You are not going to be popular when you go ahead and make that visible and heard by everyone. But that's the biggest challenge, right? You're not going to be popular outside, not going to be popular inside, but you will end up doing the right thing for the organization. So that I think before signing up on the dotted line, calling it out that it's going to consume a lot of time is one of the biggest challenge I would call it.
Wonderful. Just a quick follow-up. So I'm very sure as you scaled the companies, you would have run some experiments. Can you talk about one experiment that you ran? Either it ended up as a success or you learned any lessons from it?
Okay, okay. Simple experiment. One of the experiments what I could relate based on scaling is that uh, just looked at where employees come from, which is my pool from where I'm hiring, and the pool where I'm losing my talent to. Right. I mean, it's a simple experiment for me to understand where people are coming from, where am I losing. Now, this was the time when e-commerce was coming up. Not many are aware of what is e-commerce. Online sales is something which not pretty much in the market. No one understands. Forget about mobiles, right? I'm just talking about online sales. Mobiles is a 2015-16 scenario. Now, in this background, when I tried looking at where my talent is coming from, yeah, perfect. It was coming in from traditional organizations. Where my talent is going into the upcoming startup ecosystem. Perfect. So the balance is good. I know that I'm attracting the right talent. I also realize that I'm kind of cleaning up, polishing up, and getting people ready to work in this ecosystem for a while. Now, one simple experiment what we ran is it's very difficult for you to go and attract talent from traditional organizations because the mindset is completely different. We started looking at disgruntled employees. We started looking at employees whose growth is typically blocked within the organization. We started looking at folks who would come out and start who who's planning to become bigger and stronger in what they are doing, but their organization is not allowing to move forward in that ladder. So this is something we figured out is a good place to go ahead and target. As step two, what we did is we went and studied the organization structure of these traditional organizations and where does this traditional blockages happen. I can give you an example. A much bigger org with about 40,000 employees. The management trainees in the organization spend about 10 years across 3 levels before they move on to become director. So the third level which they spend is between 6 and 10 years. By end of 10 years, out of 100, only 6 or 7 move on to become directors. So you're about to hear a lot of noise in the market from those 92, 93 people who are not comfortable because of not being promoted, who are disgruntled. So that's the cohort which we targeted and we hired from that cohort. When I look back at what we did, whether that experiment went well or did not go well, today when I look back at the organization, I think they have about 14 SVPs. 7 of them today are from that cohort who were hired in 14-15 timeframe. So this is one experiment which worked for me during scaling up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Babu. Shambhavi, over to you if you want to run a quick poll for the audience. Okay, so to all the audience, we have a quick poll which is published. You just have to click on the polls button and you can see what kind of HR experiments does your org actively try. And you have 4 options to select and kindly vote and we'll move to the next segment. Okay, so I think in the interest of time, we'll move on. Uh, Parul, over to you. With your background in mergers and acquisitions and global builds, I'm very sure you have led HR through chaos and change. So, can you quickly talk about some of the people-related challenges, at least to start with a couple of people-related challenges that you often see at workplace?
Yeah, sure. So I think ever since COVID, the first challenge that each one of us have had to manage is are the hybrid work models. And if you're implementing them in a global setup, I think the regulatory compliances, the cultural nuances, and the operational efficiencies of each of these sites make it even more complex. So that has been an ongoing challenge. I would say it has not completely out of the room just yet, and keeps taking different shapes as we talk about this subject. So one, I would definitely say, hybrid work model has been a challenge. Implementing that, I think most of the organizations have had a fair bit of success in customizing it to the needs of their organization. That's one. Two, I would say the the evolving or the um, changing landscape of how we manage performance or how we do talent management. I think this itself has changed its definition from the very essence of it, that how do we, what is performance management, right? And when you talk about growing teams, when you talk about expanding teams, when you talk about transforming teams, and everybody wants high performing teams, everybody wants high performing culture, right? So how do you truly manage performance, how do you truly measure performance is another challenge that I would not say challenge. This has been a good challenge, so to say, because I think it has shown mirror to a lot of us in terms of what we are doing truly in our people practices, and how is it that we as an HR team or we as HR professionals can make an impact. So the second is something I would say that these are the two big challenges that I've seen. Uh, and maybe not challenge, but the other piece is around how do you keep your workforce engaged and motivated. So that's a how do I say, old age problem, but it's it's something also that that continues to keep us on toes. How do we keep our employees motivated, how do we keep them engaged? So yeah, these are the three top challenges I would say that I've seen mostly.
Thank you. I think these are pretty much the challenges for most or all of the organizations.
Yeah.
Can you talk? It reminds me of one of the people challenges that we faced at greytHR during the great resignation and the great layoff period was hiring, right? And one of the counterintuitive decisions that we took, which really worked in our way, was to actually, when everybody was laying off, we wanted to hire from the talent pool because laying off was not just with respect to performance; it could be a number of reasons. Can you talk about any counterintuitive decision that you and your team made that actually transformed one of these people-related challenges?
Counterintuitive sign, but a refreshed approach, and that would be towards performance management. I think historically, archaically, we have looked at performance management as something which was more review focused and not future focused, wherein the conversations were more about what you did last year versus what you could do in the coming year. So shifting the perspective towards performance management and making it more future focused. Um, and I've done it a few times. So giving a complete shift to the performance management approach in the organization and making it future forward, tying it with our competency frameworks, and not making it an exercise wherein the end result is bucketing of people, but wherein the end result are conversations about what could be done better, wherein the end results about are the strengths of the individuals and the commitment of the individual and the managers towards developing these people, right? So um, for that, something that we did, if I have to break it down in terms of how we did that, was to start with defining what success means. I think each organization, depending on the growth trajectory that they are or the stage of maturity that they are, success would mean different things. It could mean bringing in new logos. It could mean launching a new product. It could mean, a better CSAT. It could mean a lot of things. So what is it that you as an organization feel that what is the success matrix for us? So defining the success matrix, making sure that people understand these success matrix, whatever you define, and then tying them back to each and individual employees' roles and responsibilities. So mammoth exercise, competency frameworks helps in these mappings. But that's something that we did in the past, and I think I've done it a few times, so I can say that this has been a game-changing thing. It is painful. It is painful, but it gives results.
Yeah, thank you, Parul. So, quick follow-up question again to you, Parul. Because you mentioned about performance management, there is one burning question that I keep hearing from many of the members in our teams. When we evaluate the performance, we actually evaluate the performance of a single person. But when we actually expect uh, high performance, we talk about high
Right.
performing teams. It's a team as a whole. Why is it that we expect people to work together as a
Yeah.
team and deliver high performance, but when we evaluate, we just evaluate an individual and not an entire team?
Yeah. I think very, very good question, Sai, and it does give me a little bit of tone of, the business asking me this. So the answer is very simple. The answer is, how do you define success? And it goes back to how do you bring in your functional expertise versus what your values are as an organization, and what is your end goal that you want to achieve when it is about performance? What is the end result that you want to see at the end of a performance management cycle, right? So I would say that, defining the success matrix, defining what does success mean, and that would mean your individual contribution, but that would also mean that what is it that you did along with the team. When we talk about the behavioral competencies, right? Did you even list down collaboration? If collaboration was not listed, then I'm okay, happy in being, being the Jack Sparrow of the ship, right? But that doesn't generally work. So calling that out, and I think that also requires some bit of coaching for business leaders, because I don't think we are comfortable yet to call it out in larger forums, that success is collective. Success is not individual, and that goes back to our your previous question about culture. Are you okay with, are you celebrating individual success? If you are, then that's going to be part of your culture, and that would get rewarded in performance systems. But if you're not, then you need to say that you are an organization which values teamwork. Sounds so cliched, but very, very difficult to implement in the real world, as we call it, the shape of work. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing the insights. Richa, over to you. Uh, One phrase that stuck with me when Shambhavi is talking about bringing the human back in HR is what you do. Why is there a need to bring it back?
Because with the advent of AI, it has gone back. It has somehow gone away. We are putting so much technology into the human resources that we are forgetting that it is called human resources for a reason. So my endeavor is to bring the human back into the human resources and make technology, which is an aid. It is a support. It is not something which is ruling us. The humans are ruling because they are the ones who are programming that technology. We get the humans back, we make the productivity go higher. And that is the reason that I wanted to bring the human back in human resources.
Can you just quickly share an example what you mean by uh, technology? We understand that technology is an aid, but how did human go away from HR when technology came in? With an example.
For example, I would say that you say that, okay, we bought an ATS. Everybody says that your resume should be ATS compliant. Who is programming that? It is garbage in, garbage out. It's I would give you a very funny example that one hiring manager for the past 3 years was very quirky, and one of my clients came to me and said that a person from IIT has been rejected, and he wrote to me on LinkedIn that how come I was rejected for a profile which was made for me. We tried and analyzed what was wrong. What was wrong was that this manager who liked quirky things like a like I really like the way that Parul just said, because I'm a very quirky person myself, that I'm the Jack Sparrow of that ship. But maybe if somebody wrote something as plain as IIT Delhi graduate, the ATS rejected it because it was not checking a lot of boxes. So what is it that you're feeding into it? So that is where the technology is a folly, because we are not programming it correctly. We are not auditing it right. That is what I mean to get the human perspective back. Audit it often. For that, you need human beings.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying. So, again, a quick follow-up, Richa. Have you ever run an experiment, that ignored the traditional HR metrics and focused purely on trust, emotion, and human connection?
Yes, and first, I was kind of mentally brutalized by the business heads, but then we thought that it worked. So it's again, it was experimental. We said that we would launch a 90-day pilot across 2 business units. And as I keep saying that, let's put the human back, that we would say the human check-in, not the scrum check-in, not the tech check-in, no buzzwords, no branding, just a 15-minute weekly conversation between managers and their teams. One rule, one agenda. No spreadsheets, no hidden agenda, just one rule. How is everything going? How are you really? If you ask me today, how are things? I would be like, absolutely fine. I'm good. But when I really say that, you're not documenting, there is this force to multitask. Like it was with me also. When the other people were answering, I was answering questions which were in the chat box. Why? Because that's all of us are just forced to multitask. When a manager does a one-on-one, they are forced to multitask. It's just force of habit. So we gave a managers a very lightweight toolkit, not a 40-page SOP. One, listen, don't fix. We are just in a problem solving thing that, okay, you have a problem, I will jump in, I'll help you. No, just listen. Notice the tone and the energy, not just the output. That are things really okay? End with one act of support. Don't say, don't it's a pep talk or toxic positivity, everything will be okay. No, that okay, I think if you feel that XYZ is happening, this is how I think I can help. Anything else that I can do to help? Don't track KPIs. We didn't do that for those 90 days. And in those 90 days, we also figured that if the manager circled back, did the team felt heard and seen? And we figured out the productivity had not dipped. That if you do away with the KPIs, you're not tracking anything, the productivity would go for a toss. No, In an anonymous survey, 87% of those two business units employees felt that they felt more like a person and less like a resource. And that line stayed with me forever. And what had changed? The human connection. We bought that manager behavior back. So we said that possibly we don't need a new tech platform to humanize HR. We just need more trained managers, just that intent, the leaders that who pause, that leaders who scale. And when you give people to scale uninterrupted in an uninterrupted manner, people will perform. And that is something that 90-day no KPI challenge like really worked for us. And that's something I look forward to implement with some more clients too.
Thank you. It was very enlightening. So, Richa, a quick follow-up question again, right? So, many of the HRs who are starting their career journey, who are working in a lot of startups, end up nodding to the business heads or the founders, right? So, how can we HR can create a culture where failure is very safe and it's not career ending?
So the first thing I would say that failure.
Sorry to interject because you spoke about this 90-day thing, which is very inspirational to hear. Can this model be replicated in most or all of the companies? How do HRs get that freedom to experiment?
No, HRs will not get that freedom to experiment. That's an honest thing. And the HRs will get a freedom to experiment only when the CEOs and the founders are on board. And that is a long drawn. Sorry. I clicked the emergency SOS. This is what happens when you multitask. See? Sorry. So the CEOs have to be on board, and for that, it is a long drawn process, not just a one-day thing. That first, I have to say, what is it that I bring to the table as a CHRO? Why is it that you should listen to me? Because without that, it is not a replicable model. The business will be like, you do away with the KPIs, my productivity goes down. Where is the money? It's as simple as that because it's the money talking whatever we say. So we have to first lay a foundation where the CEOs understand that failure doesn't hurt culture. Silence, shame, and cover ups too. We have to design failure into the system with learning, with language, with leadership behavior, with everything. So it is not, I'm sorry that I will not be able to answer that in 2 minutes. I'm very passionate about it and I can just go on and on.
Yes, understood. So I think culture. We started the conversation with that word, and looks like it's really going in the right direction. So, Babu, over to you, because again, you have a lot of experience growing and scaling startups. We typically hear that the founding team members have a lot of emotional bonding with the company. And as we scale, a lot of people actually come and onboard for economical reasons. So there is always a conflict between emotion versus economic bonding. Can you talk about how to actually make employees feel like owners and not just employees being more transaction? Because this is a very, very common pressing problem, and it has only growing worse as the time progresses.
So, see, are you saying how do we make everyone feel like a founder, think like a founder, or
Feel like owners, not like
feel like
employees feel like owners and not just employees? How can we actually shift the economic bond towards an emotional bond with the organization? Is it even practical to do it, or if it is practical, to how much extent can every HR focus on doing it?
I would suggest don't waste your time on it. If that is something as a project you want to take and experiment, you can always experiment with it. We are here to deliver something, and we are here to deliver something to, let's say, more than 100% or up to 100% or slightly above 100%. Deliver it, be happy. The organization is a product or brainchild of someone who fell in love with an idea, tried a few things, raised money, more from a startup perspective, and is starting to build the organization, right? The same level of passion may not be replicated by all employees because when you come in to solve for the problem, you solve a portion of the problem. When, as a founding team member, you come in to solve a macro level problem, right? Later stage, when you keep joining, you come in to solve a micro level problem statement. You become affectionate with your team, with your manager, with your immediate members who are working around you. That is the best thing you can do. If you start doing it, that will start creating a multiplicating effect across the organization, the circle effect across the organization. If you try to do it at a macro level, it becomes only lip service. It may not help. I'm just being practical, right? Most of us, when we join organizations, um, a good number of us think that we continue to travel in this train. A good number of us think that, okay, this is my station, I would like to get down. A good number of us think that, okay, let me push my station to hit another one, not this, right? So all of us are in a journey to make our career. An organization is in its journey to create something more impactful. If there is marriage and love and it lasts for a good amount of duration, it starts with economic value creation. That's where it starts. And moving forward, it's the happiness you derive from your immediate environment. If that is something which can get created, then your tenure lasts for a period of time. The second circle of influence is the amount of work you start enjoying. The third would be the societal importance you get out of the work you're doing. Right? I would say expand the first circle, be in it for a longer time. Instead of, I tried hard to build a culture where everyone will start loving the organization. In my mind, others may hate me for saying this. In my mind, it's not possible. You can create a happy, smaller micro circle influence. If that sustains, definitely that prolongs the career of an employee. If you create one macro level, let everybody love a brand, it's going to become challenging.
Very, very, very insightful, and thanks for sharing such a nice wisdom. So, again, follow up to you, Babu. Um, there,
Oh,
there
can
are
I interject for
founding.
a second?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Babu, you're so right. It is really not possible. Anybody who says that everybody can love an organization is like, let's keep that for the gyan which is on the board behind you. I mean, let's really talk. Let's be practical. You're absolutely spot on. And thank you for saying that. It really isn't possible.
Thank you so much, Richa, for adding. Babu, there is this dilemma, right? So, founders, as you rightly said, they're excited about an idea, they came, they experimented, and they want to run an organization. And employees actually join the organization, build a career. The immediate layer after founders, you call it, the CXOs, the VPs, etc., right? They actually have to balance both the employer mindset and the employee mindset, right? And face a struggle of not being the owner at the same time, say for example, some of the founders work 7 days a week, and we have a lot of talk about 70 hours, 90-hour week, and employees actually talk about 5-day week, weekends, 40 hour. So what is your advice to this VP layer or the CXO layer to balance the expectations of founders versus the employees, where they look for more of a work-life balance?
It's very tough. We can start by saying that pass on all the credits to the team members, and when there is a mistake, just go look at the mirror, right? That's an easiest thing to do. It's a tough thing to manage. One of the ways in which you could manage this is uh, actually a couple of options. One is keep the communication open, right? Why do you need to filter what you hear in a CXO room to your team members? The moment you start filtering, I'm assuming I'm at the VP layer and I'm playing that role. Okay. So the moment I start filtering that communication, people who are working with you are not going to get the clear picture. Keep it open. If you're screwed in a meeting, just be open in it. If you are overly praised, just be happy at least for the week, not only for that moment. Right? Take that happiness and be happy about it for a longer time. So if you keep that wall transparent to a large extent, right? To a large extent, if you can keep that wall transparent, that really helps. That's number one. Number two is if you could start giving exposure of your team members to those meetings, right? It doesn't. Nobody's going to say no when you bring in one or two of your team members to the CXO meetings. Let them be there, just sit there and observe what's happening. They would happily come back and say, I'm glad I'm not doing this full time. You do this full time. I don't want to come to the meeting. In some way, if you could expose what's happening on either side and try to build a largely transparent wall, this will solve a lot of the problems. Our fundamental challenge is that we see this as a problem and we try to balance both sides. Why should we balance both sides? If we give an exposure to both worlds about what is happening, instead of being someone who is in between a connector or a bridge, let the water flow both sides. That would try and solve a lot of issues. I did this. Uh, I I thought I was a messiah, and I'm going to save my team. I'm going to let them enjoy 5 days work, and I will be available as and when my leadership team calls. No longer the case, right? Just make it visible. Know what the priorities. Balance work. It will take care of itself.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think more transparent and honest communication and a continuous communication to make sure that both the worlds understand each other's worldview might actually help in the overall balancing effort. Uh, Wonderful. Okay, moving on to you, Parul. I heard you are a leadership coach, right? And these days we also see companies like Zepto where Gen Z actually are the CEOs and the CTOs. So, what is one thing about Gen Z at work that actually surprises you?
Honestly, none.
None.
Yeah, no, because I
What do you
think,
think is categorizing people into millennials and Z? How far is that right? Because we try to put people into buckets and target different strategies to manage. What's your take on that?
see, for data analysis, yes, this bucketing is important. Otherwise, you would not be able to see the patterns. But, and that helps, for example, if you are ever doing a benefits design program, right? The benefits your Gen Z would want versus folks who have college going kids, for them, insurance is important. For Gen Z, a cult membership is important, right? So that level of bucketing for the sake of data analysis, for the sake of you having right proofs or right background or right foundation to create something long lasting, I think it's important. And in terms of each generation has its own strength and areas that we can learn from each other, right? In my experience, I think it's been ages now, but um, each time we have to roll out a new policy or a new program, um, my advice to my team is give it to proofread to the junior most intern, the freshest intern. The questions they would come up with will foolproof your document. They would ask you 50 questions and then you would know that this is how it is gonna be looking like when it hits the floor. Right. So that's the beauty, because sometimes they are so unaware of the things that they make you think better about things you probably may have overlooked, right? Likewise, the when we talk about the senior folks, I would not say just baby boomers, but folks who have more life experience, right? The kind of I've started liking the term wisdom. I think knowledge, experience, and a lot of things are there, but the wisdom that comes with life experience is something that we all can leverage far more. And I think that's the baby boomer group is the talent that is still fairly untapped, because they have seen two levels of industrial revolution, from the proper manufacturing side to the AI world. And I think there is a lot that can be learned from them. So I would just say, in a nutshell, I would just say that each generation has its own strengths, and I think it's time as an HR professional or the HR cohort here to leverage the strengths that each of these generations bring.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Parul. I think we are just running short of time. Wonderful discussion. One last topic to all three of you. I would say the most controversial, burning, and experimental topic, which is the remote work, hybrid work, return to office. So let me start with Richa. Before starting, let me give you some context of doing these panel discussions with other HR leaders, we keep hearing a lot of arguments or data points from each one of them saying, okay, cities are more expensive. Let's try to hire in tier two, tier three within India, and pay them the same compensation as cities, so that the financially the team members can save a lot, because the hospitalization, real estate, education expenses are very less. India, given the seasonality, summer is 3 months, rainy season is 2 months. So anyway, people traveling in traffic to office, it's not affordable or viable, right? At the same time, we also keep hearing the counter arguments saying people need people. We keep missing a lot of these coffee breaks and water cooler discussions. So what's your take when it comes to flexibility and getting the productivity from the team members? As a HR person, what would you recommend based on your experience of how the entire work world is moving towards, or the shape of work will further get shaped with the remote work?
So first, Babu, the alphabetic order didn't harm you this time. So we did a reverse thing. Yeah. For me, I'm a very staunch believer in the hybrid work culture because it gives you the best of both the worlds. I have never understood that mandate that you have to do this, because when you say you have to do something, nobody likes it. It's human. And as Parul just said, that all generations have their pros and cons. Gen Z has a different reason of sitting at home. Millennials have a different reason of working that particular one day, because maybe the electricians are on leave on Saturday and Sunday, and they want to get something done. And saying that no, we have to go to office and work. So a client, without putting anybody into buckets, asked me that no, we always worked 5 days a week from office. What is the problem with these kids that they come to office? So one thing was very, very clear in that discussion, and we came to an agreement that all of us, Surya, are in a habit of romanticizing the past. We have always done that. So just because I have done it, my mom has done it, my mom's mom has done it, is no longer a good enough reason for doing it. So hybrid, yes, because those water cooler discussions and those coffee breaks are very, very important, because you bond. But then again, when you say that if you get a great talent on Mars and you say that no, you have to come on Earth, take a spaceship and work, what is the point? Then we are losing out. So the way that we design talent pools for our clients is that okay, this percentage has to be in office for critical roles. This percentage is not something which is required to do a part of the team which is integral for a client delivery. This percentage can work from home. This percentage can possibly be hybrid. So we divide that into groups and look at the business feasibility rather than looking at it from the people feasibility. So I say that marry the business and the people. They really don't need to be in couples therapy. So for me, it is hybrid and looking at it and breaking it down business wise.
Thank you so much, Richa. Over to you, Parul.
Yeah, I think I would also say that hybrid is the way to go. As Richa just mentioned, right? Nobody wants terms to be dictated. And we have reached that stage that we cannot dictate terms anymore. We cannot say that just do this. There are companies and organizations where this is required. 5 days, whether it's retail and hospitality. There are industries where it's required. But other than that, I think hybrid is the way. I think it gives enough flexibility and best of both the worlds. That's the way about it. And we have to build tools and platforms. Yes, we agree. Yes, that the water cooler movements are missed, and then as humans we are social creatures, so that social structure is sort of I would say it is becoming weak because we don't get to see each other, or the teams don't get to see each other as much. So hybrid is the way to go, and a diligent hybrid, not
Yeah.
just the on paper hybrid wherein it is 2 days, 3 days, but a diligent hybrid wherein you have tools and platforms to connect with folks when you are not in office. So I would say hybrid is the way to go.
Understood. Thank you so much, Parul. Over to you, Babu.
Whatever the company prefers, right? It starts from there. You could We could start putting few things together. It's a spectrum is what I would say. If the company is in hybrid, you continue to be in hybrid. If it's a rigid 5-6 days work, you can dream about hybrid, but it's not going to happen. So I would leave it to the organization rather than me suggesting what we need to do. At our organization, it's hybrid. Uh, but it's a very different story when you look at multiple organizations. It's very difficult for us to paint and say that everyone should do hybrid. I think I'll just leave it open. Whatever works best for the organization, I'll go with that. You don't have a choice. You have chosen the organization and you follow that.
Got it.
Yeah, it is business first essentially. How does your business work? In a manufacturing thing, you say I would work hybrid. Who is going to run the machine? A bot.
Absolutely. So let's quickly take some audience questions. There are, of course, a bunch of questions. Let me quickly read, and one of three of you can actually answer. So there is a question from Jodhbir Bhala. Yeah, he's asking, from an organizational culture perspective, why do you think mid-aged professionals often find themselves prioritized during cost-cutting measures? What initiatives or experiments would you propose to have them engaged, productive, and motivated? I think this is a very pressing problem across.
Surya, just one thing
Sure.
before you all get to answering. If you go to the Q&A tab and you can see questions sorted by upvotes. So a lot of people have voted on some questions
Okay.
because they want it answered more. So we can also
Mhm.
just start by taking the top, after this question, taking the top 2, 3 most voted questions. And then
Absolutely.
based on time, we can take other questions.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I
Parul,
did not
you might
get
want to answer
the question itself, Singh. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read it in the Q&A
Okay,
section.
to simplify it, usually mid-aged professionals become the targets during cost-cutting measures. So, what experiments can somebody do to make them productive and motivated?
Okay, so first of all, this I'm sorry, this sounds like a blanket statement. I do think that this needs more data, and I do feel that it's not true. It could be in some cases, and I think we have the answer right here. We have the answer within ourselves, and I would say, if you just pick up the data of, let's say, 1,000 mid-level professionals, somebody who has 15 to 20 years of experience, or 15 to 20, let's just say. This is exactly the time frame when all the industries have gone through a lot of transformation, and we are not, unfortunately, some of us did not adapt to it, right? So I would just say, rather than worrying that could it be the next thing, let's focus on what can be done to adapt to the new ways of working. That's why we have forums like this, where we talk about things which can give you more pointers to think about and connect with folks who can guide you further. So that's the short answer. Needs more discussion. Happy to talk one-on-one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Parul. I think we answered a couple of top voted questions. The third top voted question, how can we build a strong company culture with employees working remotely?
With employees, I'm happy to take this, Sai and Richa and Babu, and please add in.
Sure.
As I said, it's about, when you're working remotely, we do pay emphasis on how you have the opportunity, or how many times do you have the opportunity to connect with other folks. This sounds very cliche, very simple, that we have Slack, we have Teams, we have, offsite huddles and all of that. But to truly bring it into practice remains a challenge, because each time when there is an opportunity to come together, then there is a pressing deadline. So we ourselves do not prioritize that. And as much as I would say that, HR teams or business teams try to put them together, when it comes to truly seeing the attendance, I can tell you, I have never seen more than 40-50% of attendance. This is after hugely driving the the engagement opportunity. So it's about building platforms, but it's also about making people accept those platforms.
Thank you.
I agree completely, Parul. Because so for the remote, for my clients who have a completely remote work culture, so I've said that please replace presence with clarity. Because at the end of the day, you're not bumping into the water cooler. You have to break into stand-ups and docs and decisions. And people like us, we have to say why as often as what when you're in a remote setting. And that change has worked for me. Will I say to a very large extent that would be Gyan? No. But yeah, to a certain extent, yes.
Thank you so much. We'll move to another upvoted question. Maybe Babu, you would like to answer this. How do you measure whether a cultural shift is working?
I don't know. It depends on what you are trying to drive. The easiest ways, it's cultural shift. Working, not working is something, it's always post factor, right? Simplest way is to do a survey and understand whether it has happened or not. In my mind, it's very difficult to draw a thin line on timelines and say that I initiated something on Jan 1st and March 31st, culturally, everything should be different. It takes some time for people to get adjusted to, right? A moving survey is what I would suggest rather than doing it once, because you do it once for you to analyze, get the results published, make everybody understand, and go ahead and make some changes. That's another 3 months from there. So it's better you look at a moving survey, you try to do it in a very non-intrusive way. That would help.
Okay, thank you so much. Um, Richa, maybe you want to take this question. How do you balance human connection with process automation?
Oh, I thought I answered it in detail in like I put a lot of comments to about 10 odd answers. I was continuously typing. So there are also metrics to that, and I answer the person that we can connect because how does it change that? How does a business? How do you tie to a business outcome? Because the language changes when you connect people. So I've seen that firsthand. The language changes, the exit reasons change, the new joiners fit in faster. The managers stop asking, "Are we allowed to do this?" and start asking, "What is the right thing to do?" The Slack tones, the email tones softens and sharpens. And that is where you will see that the way that you are handling that client changes. And that is the visible change that we have noticed. But again, when there is a lot of dashboard and a lot of data, and there are metrics, and I will be happy to share it one-on-one. So I created one dashboard. I will send it to you, and you can publish. That how can you also measure it?
Thank you so much, Richa. Parul, okay, so how would one deal with employees who are performing but do not wish to reflect the culture?
Do not
Any of you
wish.
can answer. I think
Richa, you want
it's
to take a
more
stab at
about
it?
Sorry. I missed that. I was again. Look, cons of multitasking. I was answering the questions there. Sorry. Yes. What was it?
in essence, there are high performing team members who are not aligned with the culture. How do you deal with them?
Who are not blending in with the culture.
Correct.
There's so many high performers who don't build with the culture. Rather, if you take history, a lot of smarter people have completely, they are non-compliant. So there is a reason because they think they're smarter. So the idea is to first channelize that energy to understand that what is the problem, because generally the people is not the problem, the culture is not the problem. That alignment is a misfit. We don't understand what right wants, we don't understand what left wants, and we still want that marriage. So when a high performer does not perform, I would rather first understand from that person in a very unofficial way, and then because and that also you build it over the years, not at the snap. If a HR head calls you to their room, the person is today's my last day, and I'm getting the pink color. So when you build that day on day, month on month, you have to figure it out, and that person will tell you where is the problem. That and more frequently than not, that I told you in that 90-day business unit thing, people open up that where was the issue, that maybe he was not performing well that person did not like a process, and that was a duplicate process, or simple thing as a transpose could fix it. So maybe we can fix the process and the high performers start working. So do the RCA, but understand there is no problem with the culture or the high performers. It is just an alignment issue and getting into the root cause.
So we have a poll. Uh, all the audience, please vote. 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest.
If I
For
is
the
not
overall feedback of
visible,
this
I
session.
think people will go with 1 and 2.
No, I genuinely sorry. This is Abhash here. I head marketing at Springworks, one of the community managers at TSOW. Obviously, Shambhavi has moved on to the next session because we have these sessions back to back. So I'll take care of some of these formalities. The poll, etc., of course, helps. I personally, like I said, and I also took the advantage of being the admin to pop that up on stage. I personally really love this panel discussion. Typically we end up getting a lot of ideal answers, let's say, politically correct answers, whatever you want to call that. But I love the fact that here people, all the panelists were straightforward. Sai, thank you so much for moderating the session. Obviously, like I said, we have the next session at 1:15. The poll is up on your screen right now. And I would also like to thank greytHR for, sponsoring this event as well. And yeah, essentially we have enough votes now to know the answer to that feedback poll. You'd also like to quickly put this up because, they are hide poll from stage, show on stage. Yes, so this one. And thank you again, greytHR, for sponsoring TSOWHR Playbook. uh it, because what we're trying to essentially do is having people like Richa, Babu, Parul here, talking to. I mean, we do a lot of smaller webinars and such, but having this power-packed panel is really, really helpful. So thank you so much, Sai, for moderating, and thank you so much, Richa, Babu, and Parul for
Thanks for
being a
having
part
us.
of this discussion. Folks, we will be. I mean, you can click the schedule tab and move to the next session, which will start on time as always, 1:15. And thank you to this panel for keeping the time. Yeah, we're all aligned on time right now, which was not the case in the first playbook. So thankfully this time we are on time. Thanks so much, everyone.
Catch you
Thank
backstage,
you.
Abhash. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thanks
Paul.
everyone for listening in.